Hello everyone, welcome back to the Ink and Hearth Collective. My name is Kylie and here we talk about writing, motherhood, everything in between. And today is an in-between day. So, drumroll please. 2 weeks ago now, I completed the first novel that I was working on, Project Star. I completed it and it was the first novel that I have written in the last 5 years. I have not written anything of any substance in the last 5 years. And in the last 2 years, I have written like zero. So I have some updates on Project Star. Please forgive the glasses. They're gonna have to stay for a while. My contacts are giving me migraines, so I have to get my eyes checked. Let's just talk about everything that's going through my mind right now. First and foremost, hello. This is the final printout, double-spaced Project Star. Minus a couple of pages in there are like content and editing notes that I kind of have like an outline of editing and stuff that I check off as I go. I am nowhere near that yet because first drafts, zero drafts are just that. They are just zero drafts. And this one needs a lot of help. But in order to talk about Project Star in its entirety, we have to go back actually to 2018. That is when I first got like the nugget of the idea for Project Star. And I kind of wrote down the gist of it and that was it. A few years later, prior to my son being born in 2021, probably around 2020, I and my husband kind of would kick back and forth plot bunnies and stuff for this project. And it's really interesting because he talks so fast, I talk so fast. We decided to take voice notes of us speaking. That way I could go back and re-listen to the voice notes. And this was before the transcribing thing was on voice and memo. And so I would just take the notes that we talked about by hand, just by listening. And it's really cool to see those still exist from all those years ago. And I roughly outlined kind of what I wanted the book to be, probably around there in 2020. Fast forward to 2023. I was pregnant with my second child, my daughter, and I decided to give the Rough Draft Challenge, not NaNoWriMo, in 2023 a go to see if I could still write, because I hadn't written anything of note or worth or like substance in a very long time. And I said, I'm going to use Project Star as my what do you want to call it? My guinea pig. So I wrote 50,000 words in 4 weeks, 30 days for the Rough Draft Challenge. And I was like, cool, that's awesome. And then I had my daughter, March of 2024, and I have not written anything since 2023. So the Rough Draft Diaries of 2023, I have not written a thing other than a journal entry. Needless to say, it's been a drought. But that has all obviously changed. And we're gonna talk about what has changed. So I knew that I needed to get back into the creative swing of things. I was feeling really lost without writing, without expressing myself through words. These worlds in my head were basically wreaking havoc in my mind because I was not getting them down on paper, and Project Star was one that kept getting pushed to the fore every time. So in 2024, I managed to kind of, again, rap about it with my husband. We talked, we voice noted, and we kicked ideas back and forth. And I got out all my plotting stuff and I plotted the three or four novels that I think I thought at the time it was going to be. Thought it was going to be 3. It grew to 4. I wanted it to be 3 because I'm like, I don't want to have any books that feel like a throwaway book. I want every book to have a really intent purpose for the character arc and the story moving forward. But it turned into 4. And now that the first draft is done, a lot has changed. Let's just put it that way. A lot has changed. It is a YA fantasy, and it's a YA clean fantasy. So there might be threads of romance, might be in some characters, but it's not like the main thrust of the plot. The plot and the situation and the characters, like arcs and their journeys, are the plot. And the world and the problem I have to solve is the plot. So it is a complete departure to the romantasy type stuff that I was writing. And this book has always been what I call my problem child, because I pushed it off and pushed it off and pushed it off for years due to the fact that I was afraid to actually dive into something this long-term, this chunky, that would require a massive world build, a massive political and religious structure, a magic system that makes sense for what I'm trying to convey. And then there are mech aspects to this, which are super fun. Really, really fun. So that was a lot. I put it upon myself to really focus in this year and get back into creative content at least once a week for myself, to give myself an outlet, as well as write, because writing is in my DNA, it's in my soul. I have to do it. When I was in a completely different career, somebody asked me, if you could do anything, what would you be doing? Expecting me to say said career I was in and had like a master's degree in. And I turned around and shocked everyone, including myself, and said, an author? Don't ask me why, it just popped out. In October, a lot of things changed, and this is important to note. October, I started going to counseling and seeing a psychiatrist because I was ADHD suspicious, and I was doing some research, a lot of things made sense, and I got the diagnostic testing, and I was diagnosed late stage ADHD at 36. I have an entire series that you can find on this channel that I'm doing right now, talking about what understanding the ADHD mind that I have and writing, and how it's changing and actually helping me to focus better and put systems and habits in place that actually work for me instead of against me. With that in mind, I was able to take the tools and the tricks that I had learned and applied them to my audio work, my household tasks that I needed to get done, and my writing and my creative content, creating the stuff. And I challenged myself to think outside of the box. I challenged myself to do some unconventional things, such as voice noting. So why not, instead of wasting half an hour quietly listening to music or a podcast on my way home from dropping the kids off at my mom's, what if I just spoke the chapter into my phone? I am an audiobook narrator. I don't know why this didn't come to me sooner. And a few of my author friends have been doing this for years and getting their word counts super quick. Never occurred to me to do this. I'm doing it now. I kind of finished a rough plot in December and made myself like an actual Kanban board, an actual outline of what days I was going to write, how much I needed to write. I really lowered my word count goal from my average word count goal that I like to get about 2,500 down to like 1,000. And to me, that felt like being a failure, but I really understand now getting the momentum going is more necessary for my brain than big numbers and big chunky time, like chunks of time. I need to do things when it serves me and when I can do it. And I had planned to be finished with my zero draft of Project Star in March, the beginning of March, because I had hooked myself back to my desk. It'd probably take me about 2-word sprints a day of 25 minutes each to get to my 1,000 word count, which is cool. It's only about, like just an hour, like half an hour here, half an hour there throughout the day to get that word count, or not even a full sprint the next time around, just another couple hundred words push. So that was my plan. My plan shifted when I decided to voice note myself coming home from dropping my kids off. Obviously, I'm doing this hands-free, but in that half an hour of driving from my mother's to my house, what I normally would have gotten about 700 to 800 words typing, I think the first time I did it at a half an hour, I got like 3,600 some odd words. And I was shooketh. And that is just how we have continued to do this zero draft. This zero draft, the last majority of like probably 40,000 words was done auto dictating. And then of course, I go in, I click the note, I click transcribe to text, and then I copy and paste it into my Word document. And of course, I have to go back through and fix the misspelled names because this is a fantasy, and I have to kind of adjust for quotations and line spacing because it's not perfect yet. However, instead of it taking me till March to finish this zero draft, this rough draft, I was done the 3rd week of January. And I kind of had to step away from it. I decided I was gonna give it a week, kind of let myself reward myself for finishing it. I was gonna, I needed to catch up on some audio stuff. I needed to do some of my own things that had been set aside because I had been so focused on writing and using that time for the writing. But now it is the 3rd week of February. And now I see where the ADHD executive function dysfunction has always hindered me. And that is on self-edits, but mainly rewrites. So think about it this way. Your outline are basically the bones of the story. And that, for me, is very dopamine driven. It's very easy for me to just be like, boom, 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 and then do the plot arcs and do the character arcs and do the threads and do the themes. What are some little seeds we want to pepper in for later, or foreshadowing? Like, what do we want to do there? That's all fun for me. So I basically explained it to my husband this way. Remember when Disney was doing their hand-drawn animation and you would see them flip back and forth the picture? So the picture would be black and white, but when they flipped it back and forth, you could see the animation happen. You could see the movements and the subtleties of the movements that they had made to bring it to life. And say the character was reaching for a door to open. The door is just literally a line, and you just kind of understand as the animation with this black and white outline goes, oh yeah, that's a door and they're opening a door. But there's no backfill, there's no color, it's all sketchy, it's very rough, and it's black and white. That is what this is. This is very black and white, the bones, the zero draft, okay? And where I get really hung up is, how am I going to gamify the rewrites, gamify the self-editing that I need to do to give myself that, dangle that carrot for myself? Because when you're outlining, it's fun, it's pretty, you're using stickers and washi and color coding. And then when you are writing your zero draft, you're chasing word counts and you're seeing your outlines getting checked off. It's your word counts going up, you're hitting your goals. That's all very visual. What happens when the zero draft, the first draft is done. And now you go back and kind of skim over what you've read, what you've written, and you realize there's going to have to be an entire rewrite. Most people would say, yeah, that's the process. That's the process. And I've done it before, but I have a problem. I get hung up on the rewrite. So I have a series that has never come to fruition because I've rewritten the first book 3 times now. And it's still a great idea. It's still there. It's still percolating, but I had to step back from it. It was the last project I worked on and got me burnt out on it because I was like, I'm never going to get over these rewrites. I can't get over these rewrites. And now that I understand my brain, I know that I have to gamify these rewrites. So what does that look like? So for Project Star, this chunky monster is at 102,000 plus some odd words. And I'm going to have to go through it and tear it apart. I hate the first chapter. I usually pride myself on like opening lines, and this opening line is like, it's no bueno. It's not good. It's not good at all. And the first chapter is very interesting. Potential is there, but it's not hooking. And yeah, it's just, there's going to have to be so many rewrites. And while I was letting this draft sit and percolate, getting other stuff done, I was jotting down notes. And when I say notes, I mean a notebook. This is my entire world so far, all of the things that I know. This is everything from flora. This is everything from fauna. This is the political system. This is the world, the weather, the religious system that is in place now, and the weapons and the mech. This is my Bible. This is the Bible for Project Star. I filled this out. And upon going back and looking at this, I realized, okay, I have now given the world color, vibrancy, background. I am bringing the background, the world to life. I am bringing animals and trees and different flowers and, architecture, fighting styles to the world, making it, feel immersive and deeper without completely overtaking the main, crux of the story. So that is going to have to be a part of my rewrite for the second draft of this novel, because now I am taking the sketch, fine lining it essentially, and putting the background in and putting the details in. Another thing I have to do is make sure that I use active and not passive voice, and show and not tell. Before I stopped writing for like such a long hiatus, I was getting really good at doing active voice, and I have unfortunately kind of lost that a little bit, but we are going to get back into it, and we are going to notate to ourselves what we have to do. What am I using to do this first pass or read through? Well, I guess first of all, we're going to be using certain stuff that I love using for this type of process, which makes it kind of more fun. Again, we're all about gamifying. So for me, what I'm going to do is I am going to do a first read through. I'm going to read it through probably in about a week or so. And if I see something extremely, excruciatingly painful that I want to throw the heck out, it will be thrown the heck out. If I want something to stay that I thought, oh my gosh, this is really great, I just need to rework it or it can stay, I'm going to notate that. But I'm not really going to be looking for nitty gritty things. I'm going to just be looking for huge issues and things that bug me as I go through. Then I will do a second read through. And this one is going to be where I'm going to have to really focus in and gamify it. First things first. How many chapters do I have? I have 45 chapters. So we're gonna break this down kind of akin to how I break down via the HB90 method to figuring out my word count that I need for the day. So I have 45 chapters. Excuse my laundry going on upstairs. It sounds like a spaceship that wants to take off. So if I get 2 chapters done a day, I don't work at all on Sundays. That gives me 6 days of the week to do 2 chapters each, which equals 12 chapters. I have 45 chapters. So if you do 12, week 1, week 2, that'd be 24, 3, 36, 48. Technically in 4 weeks, my deep dive chapter by chapter notation taking will be a month. We're gonna kind of keep that at the forefront of our mind that we need 4 weeks, 5 weeks technically. So a week to do the overview read through and then 4 weeks to do the secondary read through. Then it's going to be the sitting down, butts in chair, and really rewriting this book from start to finish. Opening up a fresh manuscript and getting that done. One thing I will say is I don't think I'm going to be using auto dictation for this pass because I want to make sure that I am really focusing on the edits and on the rewrite. So I think for future, my auto dictation is going to be saved for zero drafting for sure. That way I can zero draft super fast and be able to move on to these next steps quicker. That kind of gives you an overview. I need a week for the initial read through starting this week. And then I need 4 weeks for the in-depth go through. No, I might be faster than that. I might get into a groove one night and hit 5 chapters at once and notate all of this stuff. It might be slower because I have a job and kids and co-ops and extracurriculars and like a life. But I shouldn't have been done with this first draft until March. So I'm already ahead of schedule. And I'm going to say it right here and right now. I am really bad at giving myself deadlines. So I'm going to be giving myself a deadline, which I hate, but I have to. So I want to be done with these edits by March 30th. And I want to be done. I'm so scared. And I want to be done with the second draft of Project Star by June 30th. We're gonna pray. As somebody who has been horrible at keeping herself accountable to her own deadlines, this is really important that I pull my husband in for this because he will be keeping me accountable. And I put it into the aether, so you all will hopefully keep me accountable. And that's terrifying. But I feel like with me, outside accountability, saying it out loud to people is a good way to hold your accountability. And the final thing I want to talk about is what are some of the tools that I'm going to be using to notate. And this is where it gets kind of fun and you can kind of spice it up and do whatever you want. So I found these. They're Post-its. They're not Post-it brand, but they are Post-its, but they are transparent. So when you put it against like a page, you can see kind of through it. And the reason why I like these types, you can get them in, I have different colors and they're all fun. Like I just love this stuff. This stuff is what makes writing fun for me and I have to kind of make it fun. So I keep plugging along. But these are really awesome because I can make a bigger note of what needs to change on here and place it directly over the spot. Whereas I have these, which are also transparent. They're transparent tags. And I can kind of put this over a specific sentence and just say like active or passive or show less, tell more, something like that, or fix completely or cut out entirely. And I could put these on the edges of my manuscript and kind of keep my place, point myself to certain things that are important. If I need two things to kind of threads throughout the book to come together, I can kind of notate those. So those are two things that I'm going to be using to help me, along with obviously color-coded pens, and I will have larger paper, probably loose leaf binder paper, lined binder paper that I can just stick into in front of the pages, since it's a binder that I have. And that way the bigger stuff from here that I know now, I can add in and be like, oh, I need this here. We need to add something about the weather here. And in doing this stuff, learning about the world, kind of getting my world Bible, my world almanac, if you will, down, it answered a lot of questions for me, but it caused a lot of problems because it expanded the world, which was great, but it expanded the world in such that it expanded the plot. It made what the characters have to do and where they have to journey and where they have to go make so much more sense and raise the stakes incredibly high. And it's like, for me, I was like, I feel like I've leveled up in that aspect for myself in my writing, but it's not going to be 4 books. I don't know how many books it's going to be. I'm actually going to do myself a favor and write, probably in the next couple of weeks, 3 alternate endings to the series that I think would be, I know already how I want the series to end, but I'm going to write 3 or 4 versions of it so that I know where the story could go, where the characters could go, who could be left behind, who could be changed by the end. So I want to have variety to what I know the questions that I know need to be answered for the end. And for the certain characters that are going to be there at the end, I want to give a couple of different scenarios so that I have some freedom in the story flow. But I need to know where I'm going. I need to know how it's ending. So I think that's going to be another thing that helps me, because no matter how many books it is, knowing what I know now, it's going to expand. And now I have to go write this second draft, look through it. And much like the world came to life for me while I was doing this, I have a feeling that each book will present itself to me as I go through this. I think everything is going to become very, very clear and concise as I write this first book. So that is Project Star. We are holding ourselves accountable for the rewrites, and I'm going to be starting reading through probably tomorrow. I have some more things I have to do tonight, but tomorrow on the 18th of February, I think I am going to be sitting down and just tucking into reading this. So let me know what helps you guys on rewrites. If there's any methods that you use, if there's any trick or tip that you have down below, please let me know, because I'm always open to that. And I've watched a lot of author tuber videos on how to do rewrites, on how they do their process. And this one is just one that I feel like is going to work for me. A, because I need to gamify it for my brain, and B, because I want to stay engaged with the content. And C, I want to be ruthless with myself and just say, no, that sucks. Cut it. Cut it. Kill your darlings. I'm not about darlings anymore. I'm all about killing them in the plot. So yeah, that is where we are on Project Star. I have written a book. for the first time in 5 years. So yay for me, but now it's time to move on and get to the next step, which is Project Star Draft number 2. So from me to you guys, God bless, and don't stress, because I know I will be.